I'm sure many of you in the States will be waking up to this horrific news about the incident that happened in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area near Reagan Airport. Um, horrible news. Midair collision between an Army Black Hawk helicopter doing flight training and an American Airlines passenger jet on its final approach for landing. First, I want to say my thoughts, my prayers, my condolences goes out to everyone who has friends, families involved in this accident, the victims. My thoughts and prayers go out to all of you during this time. I'm sure a lot of people are waking up in the morning expecting their loved one, to be back at home. Airplane lands late at night. Probably got a taxi or something, rental car, parked at the airport, expecting them to be home when they wake up. And they're not there. It's horrific. It really is. Last I read, there were 19 recovered bodies. I'm assuming from both aircraft. And there were at least 30 plus passengers on the American Airlines flight 5342 was the last thing I heard reported. If you didn't know, the two aircraft collided over the Potomac, in which there was an explosion in the air, obviously, and all the debris fell into the water, fell into the Potomac. If anybody did manage to survive the impact, you have to imagine how cold the water is in the Potomac. Whereas, even if they were able to stay above water, they didn't have much time before they would pass away from hypothermia. From what I saw, what I heard is that the response crew, search and rescue, was pretty quick to action and get over there and try to save as many lives as they possibly can. This is absolutely horrific. There's been so many aircraft mishaps happening worldwide over the last month and some change. And it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. It just goes to show you how many things have to go right, how many things can go wrong when it comes to aircraft operations. So, pretty sure the safety investigation has already started, probably started hours ago, if we're going to be honest. I am prior Air Force. I've worked in aircraft operations. I've worked as air crew during my time in the Air Force. I'm not going to get into the details. And I've also worked for the Air Force as a safety officer. So I know how these things go when it comes to the Safety Investigation Board, military or FAA. I'm not going to get into the details because I'm sure you'll watch plenty of news reports, but both aircraft were under control under Reagan ATC. So as far as the safety investigation, there's a lot of steps that goes on with that before they can wrap up the investigation. We might not hear everything in conclusion. A conclusive picture could be 6 months to a year from now. That's how long these things take, especially depending on how much evidence hard media, recordings, interviews can be salvaged and confiscated and recorded to aid in the investigation. Anybody involved, especially the ATC controllers, are going to get toxicology screening, and maybe even other people directly involved in communication with ATC might get toxicology screened as well. Not saying that that had something to do with it, but that's just part of the process regardless. Given how massive of an accident this is, how many lives have been lost, there's going to be a lot of interviewing and screenings going on, I can tell you that. And I would almost expect for a lot of people in the tower to be let go. I would almost expect a clean sweep and bringing in new people at some point. Obviously, barring the results of the investigation, but you know how these things go sometimes. They don't even wait till that. You know how these things go sometimes. It's an unfortunate situation for all the parties involved. And like I said, I don't know all the details. I've read some things, but even then, the investigation must go through a thorough process. But I've heard some recordings from ATC where it sounds like they were in communication with the Black Hawk chopper and the airlines. And it sounds like they may have been talking to each one on a different radio frequency. And I heard that the chopper might have even been communicating out on a frequency that is only specific for helicopters. I also heard a recording where it sounded like ATC was asking the helicopter if they had visual on the American Airlines passenger jet. And it sounded like they may have said yeah. And there shortly after, the collision happened. Like I said, this is just one recording I heard. That's what it sounded like. That's how I interpreted it. But, you know, I could be wrong. Being how late it was at night, I can't imagine there was a ridiculous amount of air traffic in the area. But then again, I don't know the details. It's very unfortunate. And you know how a lot of these investigations go, especially when it comes to midair collisions. It usually comes down to human error, a lack of communication, a lack of situational awareness. Like I said, I've worked on a safety board. I've went through a lot of these mishaps, and a lot of it is human error and a lack of CRM, crew resource management. And you can also say ORM, operational risk management. It's really sad. And my heart goes out to everybody, but just thinking about those passengers on the jet, they were going to be landing. They were close to landing the aircraft on the runway. They were in their final approach. At which point, everybody on board is probably like, whew, we're about to land. We made it. And just like that, everything changed. It is terrifying to think about how close you can get to being home. And then it all goes bad. It's terrifying. I can't tell you how many times I've been on aircraft and I was shook because the pilot's making bad decisions to fly through thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms. I didn't think I was going to make it out of there. That's a whole nother story for another day. And then, you know, we were able to make it out. And, you know, I see the airport. I'm like, all right, whew, we made it. No, you don't make it to the wheels on the ground. You slow that momentum. You taxi. You get off the runway through the taxiways. Park that airplane. Get off the plane. That is when you make it. So many things can happen. So my message to everybody is always keep your situational awareness high. Always focus on your communication. Make sure there is everybody's on the same page. Make sure when you send something out, ensure that they receive the information by acknowledgement, back and forth. If you're a passenger on an airplane, the reason why they tell you to roll those windows up is because they need you looking outside so you can be a part of the safety of the aircraft and report anything you find suspicious or wrong. You see an aircraft coming towards you, you see something on the wings, you see engine out, whatever, you can report it. Again, my condolences to everybody involved, man. This is terrifying. It's tragic. It's horrific. It's saddening. So, God be with everybody, man. Prayers are with you all. Stay safe out here. Fly safe as you can. Hug your loved ones. Kiss your loved ones. Tell them you love them, because tomorrow's never promised. With that, take care, folks.